In this video, this episode of OG55, we are talking all about the 1 year anniversary of Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Hollywood. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the land, the concept, the food, the pricing, the maintenance, everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to have a real in-depth conversation on this land on its 1 year anniversary here on OG55. Let's go. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this episode of OG55. We are talking all about Super Nintendo World. It's 1 year anniversary at Universal Studios Hollywood. We're gonna give it kind of like a 1 year in review, report card kind of thing, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. We've done it before with Disney, and we're gonna do it now with Universal, and it'll be a really good time. We're gonna deep dive. George, the Italiano, it's good to have you back, brother.
Thanks for having me back on, and it's been a while. It's been a real minute.
Yeah, dude. It's been like you've really you've grown, young man. You look great. It's been so long.
The only thing that's been growing on me is this beard. That's why I had to weed whack it off.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to reboot it, you know?
Yeah,
Sometimes you got to reboot it. But if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media.
absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano, and of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Absolutely. Mr. Sticky Icky over here, George. All right, so let's talk Super Nintendo World. There is a lot here to discuss. And actually, this video that I'm going to play here, kind of in the background while we're talking about it, is a courtesy of Attractions 360. They are friends of the channel.
Phenomenal channel, by the way. The work that they do, that they put in, is just phenomenal.
No, absolutely. And I'll never forget it. They were actually very early supporters of this channel. They were real supportive when I started this years ago, and I'll never forget it. And these are really good guys, and they really do amazing work. So I want to have this kind of playing in the background while we talk about this land over there at Universal. So George, okay, so Universal gets into this contract with Nintendo, right? Huge contract, like big deal, big announcement. In terms of the concept itself, like let's start from the very beginning, right? In terms of the contract itself of Universal kind of getting in bed with Nintendo and bringing these Nintendo properties to their parks. What are your thoughts on that idea and that concept? Good idea, bad idea, neutral?
I think it was a good idea, but it was also a very smart idea. In a way of how Universal kind of created that business partnership with J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter, because if it wasn't for that deal, Universal was going bankrupt. They were filing bankruptcy. I mean, they were like on their way out of the door, so to speak. There wasn't nothing really that was, withholding, people into their parks. And Wizarding World really was the game changer, not just in theme park entertainment in general, but for Universal itself. So I feel like when it comes to Nintendo, you have a widespread of IP, so to speak. You have different brands that you can different lands, different worlds, and especially with the Super Mario Brothers franchise, you can't go wrong, because you have so many layered generations, that take to Super Mario. Like for our generation, we had like the Super NES with the Super Mario Bros. Video games, and now today, people have Mario Kart, Paper Mario, and even like as we were growing up with the Mario 64, and what have you. So I mean, there's many generations that take to, those characters, those franchises, and so I think it was a smart move. My only issue is you have to be careful when you make partnerships like this, because on a flip of a hat, if they decide that, you know what, we don't want to do business anymore, guess what? They lose that, and it's like then you have to scramble to kind of put something else in. That's the only thing you have to be careful with. But that's with any company. But I mean, as
Right.
far as the fact that Nintendo agreed to it, to give Universal a chance, I think it was a great move on Universal.
Yeah, this was a brilliant move on Universal's part to get in bed with Nintendo. Nintendo is an evergreen property. It's proven itself. When I was a kid, I mean, I'm in my early 40s. When I was a kid, I was really into Nintendo, the 8-bit NES and the Super Nintendo and all that stuff. So this is something that isn't a passing fad. Nintendo has proven itself for generations that they are a powerhouse in popular culture. So absolute brilliant move for Universal to bring this property in. I would agree with you too, George, that it is risky when you license out outside properties. You know, I mean, look, we've even seen it like in animation when Disney didn't own Pixar and they were kind of in that partnership with Pixar. When those things go south, which it did at the end of the Michael Eisner years, that's where it gets a little dicey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look, right now, Nintendo and Universal have a great relationship, and that's fantastic. And they likely will have that for years to come, but you just never know, and that is a risk that they take, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in terms of the IP itself, I mean, look, Nintendo is one of those properties where there are so many different things within that Nintendo brand that you can do. Like you can do the Mario stuff, but then you can dip into like Pokemon and Zelda and all these other properties, Metroid. And I think that the variety of the Nintendo brand is really its strength. You can build almost an entire park based on these properties. So I think that was an absolute brilliant move to bring them into the fold and to sort of do that partnership. Now, in terms of the land itself, you walk into this thing, George. You went one time, I think, right?
I did. Yes.
Okay. What were your thoughts on this going into the Super Nintendo world? Your overall feelings of the land itself, the aesthetics, and then we won't talk about the ride quite yet. We'll keep Mario Kart for a little bit. Right now, just the land itself. When you walked in, the vibe, the energy, the immersiveness. Where do you stand with that?
Okay, let me start off with the positive things first. When I first walked in, the color scheme, the aesthetics, the kind of the animation, so to speak, to the land, is like right on point. It is like literally like going like transporting yourself literally into the video game, or you're bringing the video game into the real world. It is very spot on with the attention to detail. I love how, because in the video game, especially in the original video games, when you play them, they are designed to be more vertical than horizontal. And that's what I absolutely love that they did with this land, is they built upward instead of across, which more so even gives the scale even more better, because it's kind of like you look at it and it's like, wow, this looks like a giant obstacle course. It's like exactly the same route that we take along with Mario and Luigi when we're actually playing the video game. So that was phenomenal. Now, just speaking to Universal Hollywood, because we don't really know as far as the scale goes when it comes to Universal Orlando. So just speaking of Universal Hollywood, some of my negative critiques and issues that I have, and it's really not Universal's fault. They have to make do what they have. The land feels so crammed.
Yeah.
It's like so small. They let a lot of people in. There's not too much room to kind of walk and kind of, get some breathing room. It feels like everything is just kind of like clumped together. Now, again, I don't really necessarily feel like that's Universal's fault. They have to kind of make do what they have.
Yeah,
but it does kind of give you a little bit of that claustrophobic feeling a little bit.
It isn't their fault, but then it kind of is their fault in a way too. Because from what we're hearing, the rumor is they're going to do an expansion of Super Nintendo World with, I believe, Donkey Kong, and that was the rumor I was hearing for a little while now, and I think it's still on the table. So there is room to make it bigger because they found the room for Donkey Kong, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the issue, though, with this, right? Is that they underbuilt this land based on the popularity of the franchise. And the proof is this new one-up cafe that they built over there. I think it's on New York Street. right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
they have so much demand in this land, and it's so small and underbuilt that they have to actually build Mario restaurants or cafes outside of the land to kind of pull people away a little bit because they underbuilt the land, the land itself, and that was, in my opinion, a mistake on Universal's part. I think that they either severely underestimated the demand or something, but they should have figured it out. I mean, obviously they have room to play with enough to even entertain the idea of bringing Donkey Kong. I mean, do we really need the Mummy? Do we really need even Transformers at this point? You could have made moves to bring this land to be a little bigger, and they didn't do that. And now we have to deal with the ramifications of that, where they have to build these ancillary satellite Mario places around the park because the land itself is just way too small. And I think that was I think that it honestly was a major mistake on Universal's part. Now it will be rectified and relieved a little bit once they build Donkey Kong and expand that out. I think it'll spread it out a little better. But as of right now, it's a fishbowl. You walk in and it's like, I don't even know. I mean, it feels maybe even a little smaller than Toontown. When you walk in.
Oh yeah, it definitely feels smaller than Toontown, and I have to say, believe it or not, this is like the most popular area in Universal Hollywood right now. But it was the land least spent when I was there, because it was just like there was nowhere to walk. There was nowhere to sit. Everything, even in the stores, everything was just so crammed and crowded. It was like, okay, I got to get out of here. It's like, even for me, and I'm not a claustrophobic person, but it was like I had to get out of there because it was just like, this is just too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very claustrophobic, very cramped, and it does take away from, I think, the experience a little bit, because you go in there and you're like shoulder to shoulder. So yeah, but once you get in there and you kind of, if you're lucky and you're going on a day where there's not too many people, the stores and everything are amazing. I love the merchandise. I mean,
the merchandise is very good. That's another plus too. When we did go into the store and what have you, it was. I do think they are very spot on, and we were kind of talking about that even like with the Disney merch. I feel like the Disney merch has kind of dipped a little bit in quality, in the sense like of variety, and I feel like that Universal kind of hit the home run with the Nintendo merch.
yeah, the merch is amazing. Now, they really hit. I mean, everything you go in there and there's so much you want to buy, even if you're not a Nintendo fan necessarily. Really, really, really cute stuff. I think the food offerings have also been pretty incredible, right? Like the boba stuff and all that. I mean, not, the specialty drinks, and we'll get into that in a little bit, because the pricing on those is probably a negative, but I think the concepts behind them have been really, really creative. But yeah, overall though, in terms of the land itself, in terms of the aesthetics, in terms of the shops, the energy, I think that Universal did a very, very good job. I think they captured the spirit of Mario very, very well. I think that they captured, like you said, it's like the game, right? Where it's like the horizontal, vertical, like it feels like the game when you walk in, and that's the goal. And I think they accomplished that very, very well. There are issues I have with some of the designs. I think that with the whole, and this is kind of getting like nerdy now, okay? So bear with me here. But I think when you paint the ground, the cement, I think you open the door for problems. So Disney utilizes, like in Toontown, for example, a lot of asphalt, bricks, paving stones, or what have you. That kind of stuff can get dirty and it doesn't look as bad. But when you have cement and it's just painted yellow and green or whatever, that's going to get dirty like immediately and look really bad. And that's kind of been the problem at Super Nintendo World, is that the foot traffic is really taking a toll on that painted cement. And I don't know what the alternative could have been. Maybe you could have had colored paving stones that would have maybe lasted or had a little bit more resiliency against like the scuffing and the dirt. But I just think that was a mistake in my humble opinion. What are your thoughts on that, George? I mean, when you were going through the land, did you notice that, or am I just weird?
I did. No, I didn't notice it, but then again, as I said, I was in there in a short amount of time, and it was like so crowded that, again, and it was kind of sad, really, because I couldn't really pay too much attention to detail. Like on like eye level, but I mean I did notice like all the stuff that was like above me that I was looking up. Um, but just to of what you described, yeah, if you do anything in like a light, bright, fluorescent color such as yellow, you're going to get a lot of scuffing, a lot of dirt, a lot of foot traffic, no pun intended. Uh, and yeah, it's kind of offsetting, especially when you have a franchise or an IP used with Nintendo, because it's supposed to look like a video game. It's supposed to kind of have like that spit shine, so to speak, look to it.
Yeah, no, I just, that was one thing that bothered me, and I think it leads to, issues, because you have, I think it leads to issues because you have, like you can see it here, it's a beautiful land, but when you walk in and then the cement is all scuffed up and everything, it's just not a good look. Now, in terms of the attraction itself, George, now we have different opinions on this.
Yes.
Oh, we have different opinions on this. Oh, sorry, I had a little bit of an echo there. We have different opinions on this attraction, very much so. What are your thoughts on Mario Kart?
Okay, so for me, uh, I like the concept. Um, I know someone personally who was working on the original concept of what Mario Kart was supposed to be. And it was going to be something completely different. It was supposed to give you the illusion that, well, first off, it was supposed to go a little bit faster. And it was supposed to, the vehicle itself was supposed to do these kind of maneuvers where it's like, it gives you that sense, not a sensation that you're like tumbling, but like if you're like making a sharp turn, that the car kind of goes on the wheels and what have you, sort of kind of like what like Indiana Jones dinosaur kind of thing was supposed to do. But it didn't go that route, and they went the route that they decided to take, which is fine. I don't really have an issue with it. My issue is not necessarily the speed, not necessarily the technological enforces that were supposed to be part of this ride. I actually have a problem with the AR of this. Is I love the attraction of what is surrounding you when you're going through sort of like that dark ride, so to speak, where
Right.
you see the actual props and things like you're actually in the game. With the AR, they have these characters and these AR props, so to speak, kind of like floating and suspended in midair.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you attach it to what is actually physically in front of you, it's lost in translation for me. And it's like I'm trying to focus on one thing, but then I have to do another. And then they kind of want you to kind of do this motion sensor with your head to kind of like hit your targets and what have you. And it's just there's just so much going on, and I just feel like you kind of lose yourself in the ride where you can't really enjoy it. There was a point of time in the ride where I took the goggles off, and it was just like so I could just focus on the ride of what's in front of me.
Yeah, the AR, I would agree with you. I actually really love this attraction. I really do. I was actually surprised how much I loved it. I think the sets are beautiful. Like, they remind me very much of like Cartoon Spin, like that level of quality.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. I would agree with you. I don't think this video is actually showcasing the, we got an ad there. I don't think they're really showcasing the AR element in this video, but I would agree with you. The AR is a little messy. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're looking, you're seeing stuff floating in the air and going through walls. It definitely takes away from the attraction, and it takes away from these beautiful sets too, because these sets are gorgeous. So I would agree with you. Now, I'm a little forgiving on the AR because I think the AR is technology that can be improved upon later. So as that AR technology improves, Universal can kind of go in there and improve on that. And I think it'll only get better as time goes on, right? Like Star Tours, I mean, the version we have now is much improved to the version we had when it opened in the 80s. I think Universal will continue to plus that technology, and it'll get better and better and better and better and better. So I think it's okay. It's a fixable thing, but you're right though, George. It is a little sloppy when you're looking around. You know, you got shells flying all over the air. You got like, you know, other drivers are going through walls. It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
For me, honestly, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this. This attraction for me is on the same wavelength as Web Slingers. For me,
really, it's that bad, huh?
It's more of a D ticket attraction for me, and this is supposed to be like the headliner of the land, and I just feel like that's right now what Web Slingers is for Avengers Campus until we get that Avengers E ticket. But I feel like that they really need to put some. I'm not talking about like a super like intense like type of like roller coaster or anything, because I mean Universal doesn't do roller coasters, you know.
Never.
But but I feel like they need something just like a little bit more creative, a little bit something with more oomph, maybe to like the same kind of quality as like a Flight of Passage sort of.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm less harsh on this one. I actually like Mario Kart more than Web Slingers, a lot more. But I can see what you're saying, though. I mean, because they both have sloppy gameplay. I think that's the thing, right? Like they both have sloppy gameplay where it's like Web Slingers, I'm doing my web. I have no idea whose web is whose. It's really guessing with Web Slingers for me, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel it's a different thing with Mario Kart, a different problem, but it's overall the same idea of it just being sloppy, you know?
Yeah.
And it just...
But I will say, though, if they fix the AR and they make it where it's more crisp than like a see-through hologram, where maybe it's like on the same level as you, like it's on the same track, then you know my thoughts on it might change. But right now, of how the ride stands, it's meh for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's dive into some of these. I told you we're going to dive into the food and stuff, right? Look, we're going to be fair, okay? So, look, this is from Attractions 360. The tweet here says, "It's so crazy to see Universal charging so much for a specialty drink. $14. $14. This isn't at Disney, folks, okay? This is at Universal. $14 for this fizzy drink with boba and lots of ice. Okay, like half the thing is ice. You can see it. While at Disney parks, their specialty drinks are usually less than $10. For example, the Night Blossom drink with boba in Pandora is only $7 at Animal Kingdom. So again, this is kind of where I stand with the Universal, with the Nintendo World stuff, right? Like this is very cute. Like this is something, my mom isn't like a Nintendo person at all, but this is something that she would probably buy just because it's adorable. It's really cute. It's an attractive little drink. You know what I'm saying?
But $14.
But $14, and even the cupcakes. We've talked cupcakes before. The Princess Cupcake at that Toad Cafe is like double what the Disney cupcakes are.
Now, I do have to say, I'm not a stickler by all means when I go to the theme parks or I'm on vacation or what have you. But if I see that there's a specialty drink that's $14, I'm sorry. Unless it's a drink that after I drink it, it makes me piss gold.
Yeah.
Like literally like gold. I'm not talking about just like the color of it, but actual gold. Then there's no way in hell that I can justify buying something that's going to go through my digestive tract for $14.
Yeah. And Attractions 360 here says around $7 for all specialty drinks at Disneyland Resort. For $14.20, we would rather just eat a Krusty Burger with fries for $15. So a Krusty Burger with fries, a full ass meal, is going to cost you the same amount as that fizzy drink over in Nintendo World. That is ridiculous, and no one wants to talk about that. Because it's Universal. No one wants to talk about that. Everyone's talking about, Disney's so expensive. And it is expensive. I'm not saying Disney's not expensive. But look at the prices here. You can get a whole ass meal for the price of that fizzy drink.
Jeez, I mean for that price I could get Never mind.
Right. And look at here. These are in Attraction 360. These are the prices at Disneyland, right? So slow burn frozen freezer $7.49. They're all like $7, maybe $8. With tax or something.
Right.
I mean, you're talking double at Universal.
Now I could understand that if it was like a souvenir cup or a mug, like that you can like have the drink and then you get the cup maybe for $14. But this, from what I see, it's just a plastic cup with cutesy flower. Yeah.
It's really is kind of outrageous that they're charging these prices. But it's not just this. I mean, the popcorn buckets are very expensive too. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. It's like, when we talk about this stuff in our community in an honest way, you got to bring this stuff up. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to point to the Mouse House and say, gosh, they're really bleeding us dry with these prices. You're going to go to Universal and get something cheaper? Doesn't look like it. Looks like you're going to pay double, homie. So I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I think this is 1 year out of Nintendo World. I think this is a problem. This is a major, major problem. They got to get these prices down.
Yeah. It's one thing to, make revenue and make a profit, have revenue, make a profit and what have you. But there's also such a thing as price gouging.
Well, and what does Nelson Peltz call that? Over-earning, I believe he said.
I think
Universal, maybe you should go ahead and listen to Peltz, or over-earning over here. Yeah, it's kind of outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. But again, they're adorable. Like, I want one. That's the problem. I want one, but these are very, very expensive, for what they're worth. And like I said, we did a video a few months ago about the cupcakes, and the cupcakes are no better. They are very expensive, and so it's crazy. So yeah, the pricing for the food and the the specialty drinks and all that stuff is out of control. The popcorn buckets, and that's the other thing too. The popcorn buckets at Universal are a quality item. Like, they are really well done, really well made.
Do you know the pricing as opposite to what Disney's popcorn buckets are?
They're about the same, to be fair. They're about the same, and I think both are overpriced.
Okay.
I mean, that's just,
you heard it here, folks. See, both.
You're
both. Right. There's the word. There's the word of the day. Both.
They're gonna run you about the same price. They're like, anywhere between probably $25 to $35 for these things.
Crazy.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy for a popcorn bucket. I think that's crazy, but it is what it is. Yeah. Now, final segment in this video. I wanted to talk about this, and again, we're gonna really kind of dip into some nerd territory here. But I really want to bring this up because people, for some reason, don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it, is the maintenance issues at Super Nintendo World. And there are many at Super Nintendo World. Now, full disclosure, from what we understand, Universal will be addressing these, I guess, very soon, okay? The maintenance issues, the problems. But they've been issues, and they've been ongoing issues for about a year now. We're seeing, this is actually courtesy of a friend of the channel, Universal High. You can see here, there's a lot of problems here, this is outright, just flat out disgusting.
Wow. Is that dirt, or is that like a water log? Like when something is like.
It looks like someone used this to change their oil, is what it looks like. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, these are just vinyl covering that you couldn't. I mean, maybe you can't clean them. I don't know. I mean, but maybe you can replace them. I mean, it's Comcast. They have like $160 billion market cap. You think they can afford new vinyl coverings, but.
And even if you're doing something where if you automatically know that you can't clean them, it's then you should already know what you're going to be walking into when this stuff starts, wearing and tearing and tarnishing and what have you.
What's going to happen in Florida? We don't have the weather like Florida has.
Yeah.
We don't have the weather like that. We get rain. Lately, we've been getting more rain, okay? But for the most part, California, we don't get a lot of rain here. It's just basically the same weather all year long, except in June, we get the June gloom in the morning, the marine layer, whatever it is, right? That's all we get out here, What are you going to do in Florida with the intense heat, the humidity, the moisture, the rain? how are these vinyls coverings and this stuff going to look in that? I'm telling you, bro, it's going to be, I think that's an issue. And it's not, look here, you can see here too. I mean, I'm going to show you. Oh, sorry, wrong button, everybody. It's an ongoing thing. I mean, there's a lot of like water stuff and just, it doesn't look great. It just honestly doesn't look great. Now, one last thing from Universal High, and you should definitely be following him on Twitter. I will be linking his Twitter down below. Absolutely. But we got some more stuff here. They set up temporary speakers for the grand opening of Nintendo World. Year later, they're still here, everybody. Year later, they're still here.
And they were meant to be just temporary speakers?
They're so obviously temporary, and they're still sitting out there, right? I mean, imagine if this was Disney. I'm just saying, y'all get mad. And this is the thing, too. If we're going to, like, that's why I always say, right? If we're going to accept that Universal is like the second tier experience, fine. I'm not going to be harsh on them. But when people are telling me this is the Disney killer and this is the thing that Disney should strive to be right now, then this isn't okay. This isn't okay.
Yeah, because, and with those, and here we go with the sight lines, it's like you have a sky, but then you're making it lower than the actual sky because you're seeing a building behind it.
Yeah, well,
so it's like they should have like raised that higher so it kind of like meshes well to the actual sky where you don't see nothing behind it.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that whole thing. I don't even like the sky over at DCA, like on the Hyperion. I just think that stuff looks really tacky. I think it looks tacky at Nintendo World. I think it looks tacky at DCA. I never liked that. I never did. But look at this stuff. Just huge chunks. Just taken out of the facade. Just huge chunks.
Jeez. How did that even happen? Like,
I don't know, man. I mean, it's crazy. And then this right here, this has been here since the opening day. I remember seeing this back when it first opened. It's still sitting here.
Jeez.
It's still sitting here. And a lot of people on Twitter were saying, oh, this is an easy fix. Okay, then fix it. If it's so easy, then fix it. I don't understand. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. But, there's a lot of this stuff here. And this isn't even a totally an exhaustive list, right? But this is the thing is that, what's going to happen in Epic Universe when you have the elements really pounding this thing all the time? That's an issue. That's an absolute issue. And I think that, as fans, like, especially if you're a huge Universal fan, I like Universal. I'm not emotionally invested into Universal. But if you are a huge Universal fan that is emotionally invested, that has a deep passion for these parks, you should care about this stuff, and not just blow it off and say, well, OG's just being a hater. I'm not being a hater. I like Nintendo World. I actually give it very high marks. I actually thought Mario Kart was really, really fun. I liked Mario Kart a lot more than I thought I would. But we have to play in it, like Josh of Dead Number said, you have to play in the reality, play in that reality sandbox. And this stuff is not okay. And it should be addressed. And it shouldn't, I get it. They're gonna address it within the next few weeks, from what we understand, or within the next month. But we shouldn't have to wait a year to have this addressed. And I understand.
But wouldn't people be bitching about the same thing if Disney said, you know what, we're going to address this issue in a couple weeks or so, and people would be going on social media saying, well, why can't you just announce it now? Why do you have to wait a few weeks? Well, same goes for Universal. Why does it have to take a few weeks? Why don't you just handle it now if it's so simple as what they're claiming?
Well, and people do say that about Toontown, to be fair. They do say, hey, why is it taking a year to get the Toontown stuff, in order? And I get that, and I'm not justifying that. I think Disney dropped the ball on a lot of the Toontown stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, there's no excuse for that stuff all breaking and having to redo this stuff 3 and 4 times.
I say this all the time. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And that goes for positive and negative feedback.
Right. And that's why I don't like this whataboutism stuff, because it really, at the end of the day, Universal fucking up shouldn't really be like contingent upon, well, Disney does it too. It's stupid, right? But to be fair, they both do it, yes. And Toontown has issues, and Toontown has had issues since the beginning. The Donald Duck boat thing is still not open, from what I understand. The splash pad is still not open. That's not acceptable, Disney. And as much as I am pissed off about that, as much as I'm pissed off that they had to redo the Walt Wishing Tree area like 3 times, that doesn't make it okay for Universal to sit here and have this in their park.
Yeah.
You know, I think both companies, as massive as they are, and the billions of dollars that they have, and the enormous amount of resources they have, can do better.
Absolutely.
And they should do better. And when you apologize and you justify stuff, you're sending a message to Universal saying, you know what, it's okay. You don't got to do that because, you know, Disney's the bad guy. And we're going to overlook all that because we're trying to send a message to the Mouse House. You know, it's like when you do that, you are fostering the same hubris within Universal that you despise about Disney. You have to let Universal know this is not okay, just like you do Disney, because neither company should feel too comfortable with their consumer base. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yep. But George, any final comments today on Super Nintendo World before we mosey on out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I do wish the land well. You know, I think it was a very good, you know, first
Concept.
year. Has some highs, has some lows. It definitely does have room for improvement, no doubt about it. With maintenance, with the food cost, with some of the like, well, yeah, I guess that goes with the maintenance, like the upkeep of the land itself. It definitely needs to expand out.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. Yeah. That's a huge issue, and like you said, it's a weird one because I get it that it's Universal Hollywood, but I'm hearing all these rumors from like Universal people that like saying like there's all these expansion plans. They're going to bulldoze like various sound stages, and there's all this investment going into Universal Hollywood. So there is the room then, right?
Right.
So why didn't you? This is Nintendo. This is one of the biggest brands on the planet. And you build this thing like a fishbowl, like, right. And that's why you have to build the One Up Cafe over on New York Street, because the land can't accommodate everybody. That's ridiculous. Right. That's absolutely ridiculous. That is complete mismanagement. Yeah. Complete mismanagement, and it shouldn't have happened. But we'll see when they expand it out with Donkey Kong. I think it will alleviate it. And when Donkey Kong comes, because I think that coaster is going to be an absolute game changer.
That's going to be like what the Avengers e-ticket is to Avengers Campus once that comes online. I feel like Donkey Kong, I mean, is it going to have like the most, you know, technological advances as the Avengers e-ticket? Probably not, but I still think like in comparison to the Mario Kart, I think honestly that's going to be the e-ticket of the LAN. And opposite of the Mario Kart for sure.
No, I'm really looking forward to that, dude. That's one of the things I'm really looking forward to the most, actually. I think that's going to be an absolute home run with the track jump and the whole thing. I can't wait for that. And I'm really excited, too, about these, you know, what they do with, you know, things like Pokemon and these other Nintendo franchises, you know. Like I said earlier on the video, Nintendo is a vast universe. They can do a bajillion things with Nintendo. That's exciting. You know, I think that Nintendo at Universal Parks holds a lot of potential, a lot of promise, and I'm bullish on it. I'm absolutely bullish on it. You know?
Me personally, and I know we're talking about Universal Hollywood, but just really quick about Universal Orlando, when they were considering on doing, like, of course they call it Epic Universe. You know, they have different IPs and franchises in there. But if it was me, I would have done a whole complete theme park, you know, dedicated to Nintendo.
Yeah.
I would have done Super Mario Brothers. I would have done Zelda. I would have done Donkey Kong. I would have done Kirby, Pokemon. Like I would have just went all out.
Yeah.
With the Super Nintendo.
I would agree with you on that. I think Nintendo has proven itself for generations as a powerhouse IP. And they've been pretty consistent in that popularity. I mean, everything ebbs and flows a little bit, but I mean, they've been pretty consistent. I think a whole Nintendo park would be such a smart move, dude. You could do so much with that, dude.
That would have been a game changer theme park, for sure.
Dude, I would be so over the moon excited for something like that. That would be incredible. Yeah. That would be absolutely incredible. So,
just like Pokemon alone would have gotten me. If they would have done that, I would have bought a Universal annual pass.
Yeah.
If they did a complete theme park of a Nintendo.
You and Seymour. Shout out to Seymour Duck. We love Seymour Duck. But anyway, George, thank you so much for joining me today, the Italiano. If you let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You could find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There you go. There you go. Nintendo, Universal making that coin over there with those $14 drinks. You know what I'm saying? Just making all kinds of coin over there. Now, but hey, you know what? Cool stuff. Just get those prices in order because that's crazy. When you're doubling Disney prices, you know that's bad, dude.
Yeah.
I don't care how you want to cut it. That's bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on Super Nintendo World at 1 year. How do you feel about it? The good, the bad, and the ugly. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We are a small channel. We do appreciate all the likes, the shares, the comments, the love that you guys show us. It is humbling. We really do appreciate our community so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, everybody. Peace.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.